Hey guys, Joe here. If you want to subscribe, it's Galactica4411. Today I'm going to be talking about, I'm going a little smaller today. I'm going to be talking about my Trex 250 here. It's a nice little bird. But before we get into this, what I want to talk about was this. And this is my Trex 550's flybar head, obviously, but I forgot the main reason why I changed it the last time I spoke about this. And let me zoom in on it, see if I can be a little closer. Alright. One of the main reason I changed this was because I was getting a lot of mixing involved. I inputted like right rudder, or actually I wanted to flip it, do a reverse flip, and I went into it and I got mixing. There was binding. I was getting some binding. So my head, you got to make sure this head is set up right. You have to take the your cyclic to each extremes and make sure this head's not binding anywhere. And that's where I got a little, I got some mixing, I got some binding and happening, and I didn't realize it until I went to flip the thing. So what happened was I was going to do one of these, from a stationary hover to, just a flip. And what it did was I input that. Now what it did was it went like this, and then went like this. So it was mixing all over the place. I was like, what the? So when you're not expecting that, you better know what you're doing, because I put it in. It just went in, like I said, it was like, and did some stuff and came in the ground tail first. And that was the first crash. And that's when I said, this flybar just kind of like did a job on it. It kind of just beat the daylights out of the canopy. But be careful with the head. Make sure you have no binding. What I suggest to you is to, when you finish building your whatever it is, 550, 500, whatever, if it has flybar, take the main blades off, take tail blades off, and spool this up, and watch your disc, and just your flybar disc. Take it to an extreme, make sure it goes to where you put it, and doesn't do a mix, because, and take it to each one, front, back, left, right, and make sure this disc follows everything that you put in, and not a little, because you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. So be careful, and that's what I got sick of. I was like, man, no matter how I tried this, I would make an adjustment on this programmable head. It's mechanically programmable to give you aggressive, or, F3C, I think it's called, I can't remember, but, or, mild, and you have to be sure that you have it set up right, or you're going to get some crazy mixing happening, and it's going to catch you off guard. So, careful. Now, my Trex 250. Now, this started its life as a Blade SR. Now, let me explain that to you. I started flying my Blade 120 SR when I first got into flying helicopters, and I was crashing a lot. I was crashing almost every time I flew it. Then it got to the point where I wasn't crashing, and it became easy to fly it. Then all of a sudden I started crashing again. So what it was the second time I started crashing again was because I was pushing it beyond what it could do, because I got past what it had to offer. So I got the Blade SR. Now, every helicopter has its application. I understand that. They can't say the 450 is better than the 700. Well, if you want to fly the 450 in your backyard, or in the front of your house, or in a small park, that's fine. But you're not going to fly your 700 in your backyard, because everything has its application. So I'm happy with every one of them. know, every size I'm happy with. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other, but anyway. So I started flying my SR, and that took me only so far because the tail would always burn out. You know, you'd be flying it around, all of a sudden you're in a move and in an angle, and your tail's not there anymore, and you end up crashing. So I was fixing that SR every week, at least once a week. I was fixing it. You know, I was putting that thing in left and right. So I finally, you know, I couldn't justify putting any more money into that Blade SR. I just could not do it anymore. I just could not justify it anymore. So what I did was I read somewhere, I think it was Heli Freak or somewhere, one of those forums, somebody or some guys were talking about taking the guts out of the Blade SR and putting it into an HK 250. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's what I did. I bought an HK 250. I took the guts out of my SR. When I say the guts, I took, you know, I took off the gyro, and I took off the cyclic servos and the motor, the ESC. You know, I took the guts out of it, and bought the HK 250, and I put everything in the HK 250. I would advise against that. Just go ahead and get a Trex. and I say that because, here, let me zoom in for you. I say just go ahead and get a Trex because I'll tell you what happened. I couldn't get it to fly right, you know. I had a extra tail servo in my parts box, and I used that, and I used the gyro that was on the SR, and tail, I just couldn't get it to settle in. I was just having problems left and right. And the cyclic servos couldn't keep up. The motor couldn't keep up. The ESC couldn't keep up because, you know, the disc on the 250 is smaller than the disc on the SR. So the motor's got to work. It spins at a higher RPM. So what ended up happening was I burned out the motor. That thing just went up in smoke. It went up in smoke. And the ESC, I got another motor. I put it in, and the ESC couldn't handle it. I burned the ESC out, and so I changed the motor, changed the ESC, and, you know, the tail was still kind of like I was flying in brake mode. It was just, so I ended up getting, let's see, so I ended up flying it, you know, the way it was, you know, with the new motor and the new ESC. And I noticed that when I'd be in the bank and I go to straighten up, it'd stay in that bank, and then it would. So cyclic servo started going on. Hold on one second. Okay, yeah. So the cyclic servo started going on me because they couldn't handle it either. They couldn't handle what the RPMs of the disc, and, you know, way more twitchier than the SR, way more responsive than the SR, and you're all over the place. You're like zip, 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 zip. And the SR just couldn't do that in the first place, you know. So the servos were working way harder than they used to. Those ended up going. I put it down because of that. It went down. So I ended up changing the servos out, the cyclic servos. I ended up changing the ESC. You see, cyclic servos, the ESC, the motor. When my 550, when I went fly barless, I took off, hold on, let me see if I can get in tighter. There we go. I took off the gyro. I took the gyro off of the 550, and I put it on this. Here we are. I put it on this, and I also got a servo, an aligned servo. Here, let me see if it'll focus. From the hobby shop, and that straightened the tail right out. You know, that's what I suggest you do. If you do something like that, you know, change the gyro and the servo for the tail. That you need a good gyro and you need a good high-speed servo for the tail. That's the only way to stable to, you know, to lock this thing in. Otherwise, it's like flying in race mode. So anyway, I got the HK, like I said, and I changed everything out. Everything on it now is, there is nothing on it that says I was once ran by Blade SR Electronics. All the electronics burned out. So I'd advise against doing that. You end up spending money again. Anyway, like, so the reason why this is now a Trex and it's not an HK is because with the crappy Blade SR electronics, I ended up putting it into the dirt so many times that I had to change the parts. You know, I had to change the boom out. I had to change the skids. I had to change the, let's see, the head. This is an aligned head, not HK no anymore. Aligned swash, the whole thing's aligned. Actually, you know what? I probably didn't have to change out the skids, but I did because the HK skids are just too soft. You know, they just squat it. I mean, how much weight does a 250 have? You know, when I would land, it would squat. The skids would. So I ended up, you know, putting on aligned skids. And once again, my skids are turned backwards because I like that look. Excuse me. And you know, the HK tail, not that great. You know, I ended up putting on an aligned tail. These blades, the HK blades were a little bit too mushy. They weren't stiff. You know, there was a lot of give in those. So I ended up going with these. I can't remember what they are, but they're these. And so let me show you the canopy real quick. I got this because this is what my 550s canopy used to look like. Here, let me zoom in for you. See if I can get a little closer. It used to look just like this. So I figured, hey, I'll get this one too because it's the 250. Now what I did was, you may see this right here. It looks like it's a little light here. I don't know, but I moved the holes back. They were right here. I moved them back here and sealed it up. Sealed the original holes up with fiberglass. See the work done in the back. Here, let me see if I can get in there even tighter. There we go. There we go. See the work that's done in the back? Right there, that's where the original hole was. I moved it back. Alright. And the reason I did that was because, here, let me zoom out for you. I'm running bigger batteries, and I didn't have the space. You know, I didn't have the space, and I needed to move the canopy forward. So I relocated the holes, you know. And I have the aligned motor in here now. Aligned motor, aligned ESC. Here, zoom in again for you. Aligned ESC. Motor. Aligned gyro. This is the, let's see. I can't even read it. I need my glasses on. Yeah, I got reading glasses. But anyway, it's an aligned gyro. And all aligned servos now. Aligned servos for the cyclic, for the tail. Aligned belt. Tail boom. Blades. Head. And The only thing, actually, you know, I take that back. The only thing that I have from the Blade SR is this. The receiver. That's the only thing, you know. And then from the HK, the only thing from the HK, let's see if you can see that, is the tail block. That's the only thing. That, and oh, well, if you want to count the carbon fiber too, the frame itself, that's still HK. You know, but basically this and this. That's it. The only thing that's HK on this helicopter is that. And they don't amount to a, you know, hill of beans. So basically this is a T-Rex. It's a T-Rex. Everything on this is a line now. So, what I'm saying to you is, if, for some reason, you have a Blade SR, and you're thinking about converting it and taking the electronics out of it and putting it into a HK 250, don't do it. I'm not saying don't get an HK 250, but I'm saying is don't use the electronics out of the Blade SR, because they don't hold up at all. You'll just be wasting your time, you know, when you could have just taken the money and bought the proper electronics in the first place, you know, and throw them in, you know. I mean, if you want to go ahead and then put Align products in it, then go ahead. But if you're going to do that, then just go ahead and get an Align T-Rex. Get a T-Rex 250. Why get a 250, an HK 250? But I mean, there's better products out there than you know, Blade SR products. You know, you can get some from Hobby King, and they're better than the Blade SR electronics. But so this is my like I said, this is my Blade 250. Yeah, this is my T-Rex 250. Everything about it. Stand by. Let me get a little closer for you. Okay. So I have my so now, like I said, the gyro that came off of the 550 was a GP 780. The GP 780 gyro right there, which was a real good gyro. So if you want to use something on your 550, Mr. Don Carlo, I suggest, you know, maybe you can find something different, but I suggest this one, you know, the GP 780 from Align. It held the tail good on the 550s, and it does a real good job on the 250. There's two settings that you have on it, for a big one, a big heli, and a small one. So I just reset them for the small one. And yeah, so well, here it is. You know, maybe you can see it now. See where where the holes used to be? Here. So I just filled them in with resin. But yeah, here's the head. And yeah, so this is, like I said, this is my T-Rex now, because everything's T-Rex except for that. You know? And that's it, fellas. Here's the tail. Alright. So sorry. So that's all I have to offer for today. T-Rex and the head. Like I said, be careful with this. Be careful with your setup, because it's so critical. You know, I mean, just like the fly barless unit, that's critical too. But be careful with this setup. I'd advise against using your Blade SR electronics. And that's it, fellas. Stay tuned for the other helicopters. And that's it. Peace and cheers.